I just wanted to briefly go over some legal considerations. We are facing three pandemics. COVID-19. The second pandemic is police brutality. Oh, that's a pandemic. And finally, I want to talk about election suppression. Oh my goodness. Election suppression is alive and well. And when we talk about election suppression, there are two ways to protect the right to vote if you're a lawyer. So we know that the RNC and the DNC, they dispatch lawyers as poll watchers to protect the right to vote, to ensure the integrity of the process. We know this is a factual matter. The RNC has said they're going to dispatch 50,000 poll workers. That's partisan. The DNC does it, the RNC does it, but there's a nonpartisan effort that the National Bar Association, Transformative Justice Coalition, RainbowPUSHCoalition, Lawyers Committee on Civil Rights, ACLU, and other organizations, NAACP, embraced, and that's election protection. On March 2nd of 2020, Reverend Jackson and the late Congressman John Lewis in Congressman Lewis's office in Atlanta gave me my mandate and said, you must, in your year, make sure that Black lawyers protect the right to vote. And that's what we're doing. We have programs, we have a 50-state program that we're not talking about or doing intellectualizing about, that we are acting on in our communities. We've identified 20 of the worst states where election suppression is alive and well. We have lawyers, our young lawyers that are working in Florida, where the citizens of Florida voted to restore the rights of convicted felons once they've served their time. And then the legislature said, yeah, but you can do that, but you're gonna have to pay all your fines. The problem is in Florida, there's no centralized way of finding out what those fines are. So there's a group that the National Bar Association has joined, and thus far they've raised over $5 million to pay all of those fines. They have done the data, they've done the research, and there are many celebrities, LeBron James and others, who are putting up the money for that. It's an extraordinary effort, but Black lawyers, National Bar Association lawyers are working hand in hand because there have to be lawyers to review the documentation to ensure that those persons will have their rights restored. That's just one example of the things that we're doing in the election protection space. So we are ready, we are willing, and we're able, and we're in action. My administration is one of action. I have made a call to action of every single African-American lawyer living in this country. And for those who are above, we're praying. We're praying and we're asking for their grace. Because right now, here and now, we are fighting three pandemics, and election suppression is extraordinary. And we don't have a moment to wait. We don't have a moment to talk about it. All we have a moment to do is to act. So I'm going to leave you all with 10 things. And by the way, Barbara Arnwine, who is the mother of the election protection movement, it is a movement, our Barbara Arnwine. When I say our, because she's a member of the National Bar Association. She's a part of RainbowPUSHCoalition. She has transformative justice. She is the mother of the election protection movement for lawyers. She is our senior advisor and helped to design our policy last year, and it's being executed this year for the National Bar Association. Just want to make sure y'all are aware of that. So when we talk about the 10 pointers, I'm just going to go through them quickly for every single person, and that I have preached to our lawyers that we must do in our communities. They are as follows. 1, check your voting status. How do you do that? Go to vote.org, VOTE.org. Check your voting status. You may think you're registered to vote, but you may have been purged like the millions of other Americans because you didn't do something or somebody's saying you didn't do. Check your voting status. Number 2, verify the various voting options. There's some people who are going to vote in person no matter what. Why? They don't trust the mail. Why? Because the mail's not reliable. Why? Because we're having issues with the Postal Service. We know this, there's litigation. We are not Bobo the clown, we get it. But we must be able to vote safely. Early voting is critical because that's a safer way over a period of time. So for those who are comfortable, vote at your comfort level, but you must vote. Early voting. Vote by mail if that's your comfort level. We know in our community that's not popular because when you vote by mail, it's got to be exact. You can't answer 5 out of 10 questions. You must answer all 10 questions. And by the way, in most jurisdictions, you must put a stamp. You can't just drop it. You got to put a stamp. You know how you just think, oh, I'll just drop it because it's a ballot. No, stamp. Just remember that. But every state is different. So you must know what the rules are in your state. The National Bar Association, through its 86 affiliate chapters and sections and divisions, has training in most critical states with election suppression. Have a voting plan. Well, what does that mean? Don't let somebody else tell you how to vote. Think of what you're going to do now. Don't wait till election day because it might be too late. Because on election day, if you want to check your status, it might very well be too late. You don't want to get a provisional ballot. Have a voting plan now. Go to your state election officials. You can do it online. Find out what's available. If you can get an absentee ballot, then, and if you can drop it off at a drop box, do that if that is what is safest for you. If you want to vote in person, I would encourage early voting. Or if you're going to vote on election day, have all that protective gear and be prepared to wait in line, because we know that the turnout is going to be exceptional and extraordinary, as well as should be, protecting the right to vote. Number 4, reach out to the state election officials to find out the rules. If you have access to the internet, you can do that. If you don't, call the National Bar Association. We will do that. Call RainbowPUSHCoalition, and they will tell you how to get to your election officials in your state. Spread the word in your communities about how to protect the right to vote, going to vote.org. Spread the word. Be purveyors of information, of truth. Register with the NBA election protection effort if you are a lawyer. www.nationalbar.org. Reach out to Rainbow Push Coalition. Reverend Jackson has been registering and his organization's people to vote forever, for decades. We have the systems in place. On election day, if you're going to vote, you must have protective gear. This is not the time to try to be body beautiful. We must protect ourselves with a mask, with a plastic protective shield, with gloves. We must, if you take the gloves off, use hand sanitizer because you're touching equipment to vote. Be socially distanced. Bring water, bring snacks, because you might be in line for a very long time. And bring your lawn chair. Oh yeah, don't be concerned about optics and how you look. You must vote. And if it means that you have to sit for hours, bring your lawn chair, be hydrated. And the National Bar Association is raising money and has already raised a lot of money and has a movement afoot in these areas, these 20 states that we've identified, and we've broken it down to certain cities as well, where we are going to be part of that movement to provide protective gear to our community, because it is not an option not to vote. Number 7, register 5 people. 5 people. Just take it upon yourself to be responsible for the registration of 5 people. Reach out and touch someone in your family and your circle, in your immediate circle. Number 8, arrange for transportation for someone who wishes to vote in person. Remember COVID. We know in Kentucky, when they had shut down 97% of the precincts, and there was litigation around that, but people still voted in the primaries. Uber and Lyft did offer free rides. There are organizations and companies who believe in the right to vote. It's not partisan. They just want people to vote. Reach out to those organizations. Usually many of our grassroots organizations do that. If you got a car, make arrangements, but it must be done safely. Remember, we're in COVID. 9, recruit volunteer poll workers. We know that many of our poll workers historically have been senior citizens. It is not prudent, and they will be counseled against being poll workers during COVID because they're senior citizens and many times have other medical ailments that would preclude them, and their doctors probably wouldn't allow them to do that. But there are other people who want to be poll workers. Recruit them. There are many things that we can do from our desk by making phone calls. And then finally, the last point is refuse to be denied. Refuse to be denied. If you get to your polling station and there's some type of raggediness, funkiness, and we know it when we see it, it's election suppression, call 1-866-our-VOTE. It's a hotline. 1-866-our-VOTE. Call Rainbow. I've done that. I did that when I was in Brookhaven last year voting for Stacey Abrams. All kinds of irregularities. I I waited 5 hours in line this time to vote in the past primary. 5 hours, it should have taken 10 minutes. There was litigation surrounding all of that because sometimes you just got to escalate it up. Again, 1-866-OUR-VOTE, that's a hotline. We got lawyers ready in the field. We're not talking about it, we're acting. We only got time to talk. And we are also providing protective gear for our citizens, for our community to vote. Because after all, the one thing that lawyers know how to do, they know how to talk and they know how to get into court and to speak truth to power and to seek justice. And that's what the NBA lawyers, that is their mandate, and that's what we're doing. Thank you.